Let's be real, creating clean data for NLP models can be a messy, time-consuming nightmare, but you know what? Data is everything. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to build a complete workflow in Argilla from the very beginning all the way to a data set that's ready to go.
So let's just dive right in. This isn't going to be some boring theory session. Nope. By the time we're done here, you are going to have a real, practical blueprint for turning messy, raw info into the high-quality fuel your AI models desperately need.
Okay, first things first. Before we start clicking buttons and writing code, we got to get on the same page about what Argilla even is. You know, in this crowded world of MLOps tools, what's its whole reason for being? What problem was it actually built to solve?
And that really is the big question, isn't it? I mean, you've got tools for training, tools for deployment. So where does Argilla fit into that puzzle? The answer, well, it really shows you where its true power lies in the whole machine learning lifecycle.
The answer is actually pretty simple. Argilla is all about the data. It's not here to train your model. It's here to create the amazing, high-quality fuel that your model runs on. You should think of it like a specialized workshop where your subject matter experts, the humans in the loop, can carefully craft, review, and perfect every single piece of data. This makes sure your model is learning from the absolute best examples possible.
All right, we know the what, so now let's tackle the how. And the very first step is just getting connected. But right here, we need to stop and bust a huge myth that trips up, I swear, almost every single new user.
I'm sure you've seen this idea floating around, right? Because the integration with Hugging Face is so smooth, a lot of people think you're totally locked into their world, that you have to use their servers, their data sets, the whole shebang. But is that actually true?
Yeah, no, not even close. This is completely false. And understanding why it's false is key to unlocking one of Argilla's best features, its flexibility. The reality is, Argilla is open source at its core. And yeah, the Hugging Face integration is absolutely fantastic, but you are never locked in. You can deploy it wherever you want, on your own servers, in a private cloud, you name it. That freedom is a central part of its design. And that brings us to the super important detail for getting set up. You connect to Argilla using an API key from your server. A classic mistake is trying to jam your Hugging Face token in there. That's for something totally different. Getting this right from the jump is going to save you a ton of headaches, trust me.
Okay, so we're connected, we're in, what's next? Well, now we have to tell Argilla how our data should be structured. How do we set things up so our annotators know what they're looking at and what we want them to do? It all comes down to one really important concept.
And that concept is fields. Fields are everything. Just think of them as the columns in a spreadsheet. So for example, you might have a text field that holds, say, a customer review. And then you'd have a label question that asks your annotator, hey, is this review positive, negative, or neutral? You just mix and match these fields to build the perfect interface for your task. So let's put that into practice. Imagine you're doing a classic task like named entity recognition, finding names of people and places in a text. How would you set that up? You need your annotators to be able to highlight specific words or phrases, right? Well, for that, Argilla has a specialized span question field designed for exactly that, selecting spans of text and giving them a label. The right structure makes the whole task feel intuitive.
All right, our data's in, and it's all structured nicely. Now the real work can begin. This is that human-in-the-loop moment where your experts actually sit down and start labeling. So what does that day-to-day process actually look and feel like inside the platform?
And this brings us to a really core idea behind Argilla. It doesn't try to be magic and label your data for you. Its whole purpose is to create the best possible workbench for humans to do that work. Why? Because when you need truly high-quality, nuanced data, the human expert is the ultimate source of truth. Sure, you can load a model's predictions to give them a head start, but that final decision always belongs to the annotator.
So let's put ourselves in the annotator's shoes for a second. You're working through a really long, complex document. You're maybe halfway done, but you're just not ready to submit it. Maybe you need to take a break or get a second opinion. You don't want to lose your progress, but you can't click submit yet. So what do?
This is where a small, but honestly an incredibly useful feature comes in. Argilla has a Save As Draft button. It safely stores all your work in progress, pulls it out of the main queue so nobody else accidentally grabs it, and lets you easily find it again later. For big, complex projects, this is an absolute workflow lifesaver.
Okay, deep breath. The hard work is done. You've curated, labeled, and polished a beautiful new dataset. Now for the grand finale, getting it out of Argilla and into your model training pipeline. And this is where that amazing integration with the Hugging Face Hub really shines.
Now listen up, because this is a super common point of confusion, but it's really easy to remember. When you see from hub, think import. It pulls a dataset from the hub into Argilla. To get your work out, you need to do the opposite. You need to push it out. And that's what to-hub is for. Just remember, to-hub pushes out, from hub pulls in. Simple as that.
And that whole export process, it literally boils down to just 3 simple steps. We're talking a few lines of Python code. It's so much more straightforward than you might think. Let's just walk through them right now.
Step 1, you create your client, just like we talked about earlier, pointing to your server with that API key. Step 2, you just grab the specific dataset you want to export by its name. And that's it. You've now got the dataset object ready to go. And now for the magic. Step 3, you just call the to_hub method on that dataset object we just made. All you have to do is give it a repo ID, which is just your Hugging Face username, a slash, and whatever you want to name your new dataset. That's it. You run that one line, and Argilla takes care of everything else.
And there you have it. From just an idea to a fully annotated, high-quality dataset ready to be shared with the world on the hub. We've busted some myths and built a real, repeatable workflow you can start using today. You now have the blueprint for creating the most essential ingredient for any great NLP model, so the only question left is, what amazing problem are you going to solve first?